Welcome to the Audio Equipment Podcast. My name is Griffin Brashears, an audio engineer obsessed with uncovering the stories behind the tools used to shape the musical landscape of the past, present, and future. Today I'll be joined by Nelson Walkom from the one-man operation Hohm Microphones. Designed and fabricated from scratch in Melbourne, Australia, Hohm makes premium ribbon microphones at an attractive price, made possible by selling direct and keeping overhead costs low. The designs and sound are unique and ruggedly built from raw local materials, aiming to combine the warmth and natural intimacy associated with ribbon mics with lower floor noise, extended high-frequency response, and lighter weight than what would usually come to mind for a microphone of this type. Hohm has made a strong reputation in the short time they've been around, and I'm so excited to feature them on the show. Good afternoon, Nelson. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Griffin. Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. I've been a big fan of your microphones for a long time. Owned the HRO too for a while. Gets a lot of use on drum overheads.
Yeah. You mentioned that. Very pleased to hear it's doing the job for you.
Oh, most definitely. Well, let's get into kind of some of your background. So most people who build gear tend to be musicians themselves. So how did you get started in music? What are some of the earlier memories you have of, being a musician and possibly, your own audio engineer?
Definitely coming from more of a musician background than audio engineering. So I started playing music about 12, but also started recording myself basically from the get-go. So I've sort of taught myself everything I know on that side of it. But I always found listening back to myself playing just as fun as the actual playing of the instrument itself. So recording seemed like just a natural extension of making music. And I have recorded in studios a little bit over the years, but I always preferred to just do it myself and learn as I go.
Awesome. What instrument do you play?
Mainly guitar, but because I produce my own songs, so I'll play everything to get a full track.
One man band, yeah.
Yeah,
I know how that goes.
Yeah, I love it all. It's
wonderful.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I was sort of around 2016. I sort of reached a point where my enthusiasm for making music had sort of started to dwindle quite a lot, actually. So I was looking for something to do with my life, really, to be honest.
You were at the crossroads.
Yeah, big time.
Looking over the cliff.
Yeah, luckily I just randomly became curious about how ribbon mics worked because I'd had positive experiences using them here and there in the past, and so I'll look into how these things work, and figured out that I could actually make one, and my intention was to make one for myself, and I instantly became obsessed, and with the idea of just improving it, and then so I did that, and then people seemed interested straight away, so I've just been the ball kept rolling from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I noticed that, like, when I was watching the videos of the stuff being machined, you do all that in-house. Like, I see it kind of starts as like the cylindrical tube and you polish it, and you make the ribbon in-house, right, as well?
Yeah, I do as much as I possibly can in-house because I enjoy the manufacturing side of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to just outsource everything and then turn it into just another job.
Yeah, it makes sense. You want the passion of fine-tuning kind of your individual microphones for the use case. And you have a asymmetric design. Do you have a symmetrical design on any of it, or is it all asymmetrical design?
It's all asymmetrical, yeah. That was partly to do with just the constraints of when I started. I had limited access. Well, I had no money and limited access to
mother of invention.
Yeah. And anyway, that constraint actually led. It's kind of worked out for the best because it led to me doing something a little bit unusual, having to work around those constraints, and it's resulted in a mic that's because I was hell bent on not copying anything or just coming up with a clone.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
So I've always,
Very much,
yeah,
I think, the way to go. It's always nice too because I feel like there's a lot of expression left in microphone design and equipment design in general, and
yeah,
it's always cool. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that people build clones not necessarily just to be like copycats. I think they are legitimately inspired by the
yeah.
style or voicing of a microphone, but it is really refreshing and nice to see original designs like from the ground up. Like, I wanted to build a ribbon and I wanted to do it this
Okay.
way, and I think that was cool. That's what
Yeah,
attracted me
yeah.
to the microphones. It seemed very like opinionated, the way you wanted to
Right.
do it.
Okay. Yeah, I just find it's really rewarding
Yeah.
to find your own solutions to things. So I'm a bit the same with my music. I don't want to make music that, you know, sounds like something that, I've heard a million times before either.
Yeah.
And the same thing carries over into microphones. I want it to be, something that I can, hang my hat on and go, oh, that's its own thing, and it is what it is, and it'll find its own place in the market. I'm not trying to make something that fits a specific purpose. I just make the best microphone I can,
Hmm.
and and yeah, it will find its place.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think
Mm.
yeah, the marketing has to be kind of tricky because you are a one man operation, right? It's just
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I saw that you got reviewed by Sound on Sound though. I think that's where I found out about your
Okay,
microphones.
yeah,
Actually, I think my friend linked it and I did some research. I'm like, oh, Sound on Sound reviewed, and
yeah.
kind of nice boost.
That was a bit on a whim,
Yeah.
quite a few years ago now, but yeah. So because I was still, the microphone's very much been an iterative
Hmm.
process, and um, yeah, there was a bit of a discrepancy between the specs that I that they mentioned
Yeah.
and the microphone they
I
got, because it was 10 months between
I see. Yeah.
when I sent the mic and when the review got published.
Yeah,
And
I
I
noticed
sent
there was
them,
a little bit of discrepancy because it says that the HRO2 is fully symmetrical, but it's not. I think it has, two
yeah,
asymmetrical ribbon motors.
yeah, no, that was
Yeah,
just an assumption on their side. But
makes sense.
yeah, anyway, so yeah, I sent them the new specs, but it
Yeah.
unfortunately didn't get through. but
Yeah. Are you
but no,
still
that was,
kind of tweaking the tolerances and kind of iterating maybe on like a yearly or bi-yearly, or you think things have kind of settled into place? Like,
things have settled a lot.
yeah.
I mean, the bulk of the structure hasn't changed a lot. It's very subtle tweaks over time, mostly just in things that affect um, the way I manufacture them rather than the actual sound.
Mm,
But there has been, yes, little tweaks here and there that I just carefully make over time and see
yeah.
see how they work. But yeah, sorry, I've forgotten where we're at.
We're talking about sound on sound, tolerances,
Yeah, yeah.
iterating over time. But I actually kind of want to bring it back a little bit because I was curious about when you mentioned kind of approaching a ribbon, it was a little bit more maybe approachable to build a ribbon microphone with an asymmetric design where, I was where the front and the back are different. I was curious on why that is. I don't know much about ribbon
Um,
manufacturing.
it's probably not necessarily easier. It's just I liked the idea of it being asymmetric anyway.
Got it. Okay.
So I wasn't resistant to that at all. I was
Okay.
just like, well, if one side sounds a little bit different to the other, then that, to me, that's just a good thing.
Yeah.
um, and so I kind of just, that was kind of just default because I liked it, and it happened to I came up with a design that naturally happened.
Yeah.
But it's really just comes down to the shape of the transducer, the actual the shape of the hair, what holds the magnets, and
Gotcha. So it's like
yeah,
actually it's a
yeah,
positional thing where it's like where things are being held in place as opposed to the shape
yep,
of the ribbon itself.
that's right, yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's not to do with the ribbon itself; it's what surrounds the ribbon. That yeah, it just has a pretty subtle effect, but
Yeah. I noticed that
Yeah.
especially when I'm using the stereo mic because it is in a it's in Blumline kind of configuration with
Mm.
the 90-degree angles, and I notice when I'm using it in mid side because it's too asymmetric, the sweet spot's a little bit narrower, but it is like really rewarding to get a slightly wider kind of figure eight pattern rather than purely symmetrical.
Yeah, that's right. It's
Yeah.
a compromise that I was yeah, conscious of, but
Hmm. I
um
haven't seen too many designs like that. It's pretty awesome. I
no.
think maybe like somewhere along the travels I may have seen one, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
I think
not
that's pretty unique
yeah, I think it is.
to my knowledge.
It was a case of people were asked before I'd put out a stereo, people were asking for one,
Mm.
and it was the only way I could do it um,
With your
at the time.
current
And so
manufacturing.
I built it, and I don't know, I just felt like it worked, and it was a bit different, bit unique, and I'll just yeah,
Yeah.
just been rolling with it because I've only had positive feedback about it.
Wonderful. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of research about your line, and I wanted to ask about kind of the differences between the HRP1 and the HRO1, because the HRO1 is kind of your uh, main
Mm.
model, and then your
The
yeah the
original, yeah.
original, the OG, and then the HRP1 is kind of a newer. I don't want to say like flagship; they're all great mics, but like some subtle
Yeah,
improvements and kind of higher quality components that you imported, including
that's
some
right.
like transformer from Samar Audio Design, who definitely
Mm.
they know their way around ribbon microphones for sure. So how did you kind of figure out what you wanted to put into? Was it trial and error, or how did you go about making the
Um,
HRP1?
yeah, yeah. So I'd had the original, the HRO one for a few years, and that mic, I was pretty keen on keeping the cost down where I could.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Partly for myself, so the price of the parts wasn't overwhelming, and then also I wanted people who are in a similar, financial situation as myself to be able to afford a mic.
Yeah, didn't want a $3,000 boutique mic, at least not yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then after I sat on that for a while, I because I sold a few mics, and I was able to just go, oh well, how would I make this mic if I just got rid of the price constraint? And the answer was I'd do it exactly the same, except I'd um, use a thinner ribbon, which is just a bit harder to handle and
Hmm.
manipulate and corrugate and all that fiddly stuff.
Tougher to make.
But it also um, responds a bit faster to a
Hmm.
sound wave because of its lower mass. And then the other thing was just buy the best, most well suited transformer that I could get on the market. And so I bought a bunch of different transformers, and um, the same just jumped out at me. There
Yeah,
was the other ones were really nice, and you have to make a decision, but the Cinemag make really nice transformers as well.
yeah, yeah. I
But
like
then
their
the
stuff.
same was just kind of just a clear winner for my particular design,
Wonderful.
and so I chose that. But other than that, just the color is different,
Yeah,
and yeah, the wiring's just slightly different. But yeah, it's so just a couple of little updates that make a big difference for people who are using a mic in a more demanding situation, especially for instruments that have a lot of harmonic content,
hmm
acoustic stuff, and
yeah. Acoustic guitar
yeah,
is a great test of a ribbon mic. Just
yeah,
so much
absolutely,
complexity and the attack really. I can see that being a big thing that makes a difference. I was curious
yeah.
about the so if the ribbon's thinner, um, it's going to be a little quicker to respond. Does that affect like the tonal balance too much, or is it mostly with like transient response? Is it maybe go a little bit higher in the frequency range? That's kind of my knee jerk assumption, but I'm not sure if
Yeah,
that's accurate.
you definitely get the perception of hearing a little bit more detail in the high end. I don't
Okay.
know if I don't think it extends the like the spectrum higher,
Gotcha.
but you get the perception of it for sure because you're hearing a bit more detail in that transient.
That makes sense. Yeah. So it gives you
Um,
that psychoacoustic effect of more
yeah,
detail. Okay.
yeah. But the tonal balance is um, yeah, not a problem in
Mm,
that regard.
wonderful. And
Yeah.
I was curious about kind of your background because you built ribbon microphones. Have you ever tried to mess around with any, dynamics, condensers? Have you ever maybe done
No,
repair work or just kind of something that's maybe more on the sidelines right now?
no, um I haven't messed around with condensers at all. Um,
It's kind of
I
its
did
own
do a
world.
bit of,
All the
yeah,
microphone
yeah,
worlds are like almost like very discreet. You usually don't see. Sometimes there'll be some interdisciplinary stuff, but more often than not, they're a little bit separate in their design principles.
yeah. And because condensers get a lot more into the electronics,
Yeah,
um, as that's not such a priority to me. I kind of more like the mechanical sort of aspect of a ribbon mic.
that makes sense.
Um, but yeah, like dynamics. I've done some repairs and stuff, but it's really usually just
Yeah,
resoldering a few wires and things.
there's not
But
a lot that could really break on them. I feel like, I mean, occasionally you run into more complicated repairs, like with some of the older, like chambered stuff, like Electro voices and stuff. But even then, I mean, most of the time it's solder this,
yeah,
replace that
yeah,
material. They're very,
there's not
very
much
durably
going
built.
on in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I do a few repairs on ribbon mics while I was, but I kind of I'm not really
Yeah.
advertising that anymore because um I've got enough going on just trying to
Yeah.
juggle juggle my own
Yeah.
line of mics and
Yeah.
yeah. But
S-
yeah, it's good to see what's going on in other people's microphones. It's always super cool to open something up and see what other people are doing and
Yeah.
yeah.
Nerd out a little bit about it.
Yeah.
How did you so what was like a good resource for when you were building? Obviously there's like group DIY, which is like a sacred land of crazy resources when you're
Yeah.
building stuff. But also like
Oh
did
yeah.
you have a background in machining or anything like that when you went into this or did you just figure it out ad hoc
Um
as you went?
yeah, I very much figured it out ad hoc, like because I really didn't have I mean, I've always loved building things and designing things.
Mhm.
So it's always been something that I've has felt very natural to me to do. Um, but because I've been focused on making music for so long, it's not like I had a workshop or anything.
Yeah.
So it was a case of like make one mic with whatever I could, and then with the profit of that, buy a tool and then refine the process. And
Classic
I've just
DIY.
been
Yeah.
keeping on doing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's been super fun to create my own tools and figure out my own little processes to make life easier. Because it's one thing to make one microphone. You know, it can
Mhm.
be done. You can make a half like a pretty nice sounding microphone for yourself.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But then to try and scale it up into a product that you can make consistently and isn't like torturous to build
Yeah, I
is
can imagine the
it's a whole
consistency is
new
tough. Yeah, getting the same mic, image and
yeah, it's brutal.
presented and across the seas to so many
Yeah,
people. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question,
No,
but
it does. Yeah, yeah. No, that was a perfect answer. I think yeah, it's interesting because I feel like when people start building microphones, the DIY aspect of learning how to do all that comes along with it. It's like the first question usually like, oh man, well, can I do this? And then the
yeah,
next one is, okay, how do I do this? And then that spawns hundreds of questions depending on someone's background. Some people already have the electronics background, or
yeah,
some people have the more physical manufacturing or machining aspect, or some people just really like woodworking and they find it's a natural transition to shaping other things. So
Yeah,
I'm always interested in hearing people's background of that, because you never know where
right.
people are coming from with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely come at it from sort of a musician, artistic thing,
hand
background,
tuned,
combined with just a love for building things physically. So yeah, I love the manual labor. I mean, sometimes a job will get painful and tedious once you've done it enough times, and you sort of, okay, well, maybe I'll focus on that and try and figure out a way to make that a little bit less painful to do. And so you solve that problem, and then you move on to the next problem. And
bit by bit.
I just love that whole process.
Yeah, getting things more efficient over time, things of that nature. Have you been working on any, if you're at liberty to share, anything new over at home, or same models, kind of iterating, building new things, trying to keep up with demand? Anything you've been tinkering on your workbench with?
Just trying to, well, I'm going to release the stereo version of the premium model pretty soon. So that I mean, I've done the hard work. I'm just I want to
testing
get some kind of audio demonstration to go to to put up when I release it.
Totally.
Yeah, but really
a lot of sources.
Sorry?
Said get a few good sources, show off the new glamour.
Yeah, so I'll see what I can do in that regard. But other than that, just trying to stay on top of it, what I've already got. And
it's got to be tough, moving new product,
just keep refining it,
building stuff.
Yeah, and I make a lot of music and stuff in my own time, so that's
do you have any links to that? I'd love to pitch it on the show. I love when creators of gear show their stuff. Do you have a Bandcamp or a Spotify? What's the
I've got all my sort of history on Bandcamp.
Nice.
And I got just a small handful of songs up on Spotify as well. And I've always got a tune that I'm working on. I tend to take a long time on a song. I don't rush it.
I'm the opposite these days. I'm like, man, any day that I spend more than 2 or 3 hours on a song, I'm like, man, I'm moving like a snail's pace. Yeah, just
I wish I could be a bit more like that.
I'm the opposite. I wish I could spend more time, but busy. Plus, it's also, I feel like I kind of just throw it all up. I know what I want out of it. Usually pretty quick, and I think everyone's method is so different for how they get music out on the page. And
I struggle with it.
Grass is always greener. It's like I wish I could spend a little more focus and time on concepts, and
it's some puzzles come together easy, and some puzzles you can almost never finish.
Yep, very true. Well, I'm super excited about that stereo ribbon. I can't wait to hear it. The thing that sold me on the original stereo ribbon was the really great drum demonstration. That was I love that. The person who demoed that, I humbly request you get that person again, because they crushed it.
I'd love to.
It was awesome.
Yeah, he's great. But I'm super happy with how the HRP2 is sounding. That's what it's called. The premium stereo. It's really liking it. So that's exciting. Yeah.
Very exciting. Yeah. I imagine it's probably a little bit more finicky with 2 ribbons that are thinner to kind of, you got to take your time building them for sure.
Yeah, you got it. It's it's you go through a bit more ribbon foil trying to get that right, get them matched.
Yeah.
And
what's that Bandcamp link? I'll pitch it on the show live.
Oh,
if you don't mind,
good question.
just so if people are listening to it, they can direct their attention, because to my knowledge, it's not plastered all over the Hohm Microphones website. I think you should add maybe some large banners, like, if you like the ribbons, find out the man, the myth, the legend behind them. Wouldn't you know it makes tunes.
Not to do that. I'll do it sometimes
the
just out
cross
of
promo.
practicality.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can, record
Yeah,
my own audio samples, and I do, and
exactly. Yeah.
I like it, but I try not to.
There's a balance. There's a balance between
Yeah,
like I think everyone's different, but
yeah,
I'm
you
I'm
don't want
always
to.
surprised by how talented so many of the people that create this gear is. Like, I had John from Psychocircuitry, John Zabo, and he came on
Yep.
here, and I found out he made music, and not just music, like a lot of music. And
Right.
this is a person who's known for their plugins. They make great stuff. But now I'm like 3 albums in, and I'm like, wow, this person is productive in so many ways.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
great
It can
stuff.
be surprising what people get up to in the background.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Bandcamp is just Nelson Walkom nelsonwalkom.bandcamp.com.
Excellent. And that's Walkom.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Nelson Walkom.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely be perusing that.
Yeah, it's very varied. So,
Yeah.
if you listen to one song, the other songs are probably not going to be anything like it.
So if I love one, then
I'm
I'm
all
kind of
over the
stuck with
shop.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's interesting that I feel like the variance in music tends to come from like a home recordist background. I feel like when you learn how to like record yourself young, you tend to just learn how to record a lot of different types of music.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of wish I was someone who had like a style that I just knew what I did and could
Yeah.
stick to it. But
Make booking shows a little easier
not to
for sure.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's people out there in the world who have like a sound that fits in with what you do, and I never had that luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Well, there's Beck, you could be like Beck or Cornelius or one of
yeah,
those musicians with 30 different sounds, and it seems to be working all right.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with
That's
that.
what I
I'm
tell
all for it.
myself.
Yeah. Why not? It's good to see. I like seeing people
Exactly.
change it up and mix things up. And
Yeah, me
I
too.
don't want to see this band do the same thing from when they're 20 into their 50s.
You don't want to see. I don't know, man. I'm
Yeah.
I'm on the next Simple Plan tour. I'm about to.
Yeah.
From 13 to 30, it's still hitting. Yeah, it's amazing how
Each
long.
to their own. Eh?
Yeah, exactly. Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's all the topics to cover. And is there anything else you want to share about the microphones?
No, I think that
speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think so. I think I just appreciate you. Yeah. Your curiosity in what I'm doing and your kind words. So yeah.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I don't have any sponsors on this show, so my mentality for doing this whole thing has just been buy some stuff at full price, so I'm not biased. And if I like it, I invite people on the show. And that's been working really well, because then I have a frame of reference for what I like about the tools that I'm using,
Absolutely. And people are probably more inclined to trust what you're doing and you're putting out. So
yeah, I don't want to be in a position to where people think I'm getting a bunch of free stuff for talking about gear. It'd be nice, but I think it's probably better if I continue to buy stuff and support the creators,
Yeah. I hope you have a bit of luck with it.
Yeah, thanks. So far it's been good, and yeah, I hope I guess I kind of lost my train of thought, but I guess I hope I hope this continues to go well, and I can get more excellent guests like yourself on.
Oh, thanks, dude.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, all the best with it.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Nelson. This has been another episode of the Audio Equipment Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.